Hi, how are you?
Hey Samir, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, doing great. You are a CEO and founder of Gravvity, which is sort of a breakthrough in social networking and decentralization and NFT and Metaverse space. You're disrupting the social networks right now, and I wanted to talk to you about that. You're also a fellow Canadian, which is also great. I'm here in Toronto. I believe you're not far away in Ontario, right?
I'm in Toronto as well, man.
Oh wow. Well, okay, so we're pretty much neighbors. Yeah, and I just wanted to ask you about what's happening right now with Gravvity, because Gravity's been around for I think more than a year now. Even no, I think it started before or when the pandemic started, so it's been a while. So I just wanted to ask a little bit about how Gravity came to be and why are you in Gravity and what are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, sure. So thanks again for having me. We started Gravity back in January of 2020. So it's been almost 3 years now, and our project is pretty big to be honest. It's a social platform, obviously, but also has a metaverse component to it as well. So I'll start with just explaining our story, I guess. As myself, I was in the corporate world, being a senior executive in finance, insurance, tech, energy, all that kind of boring stuff. And I started working with a bunch of corporations and trying to figure out how they manage data and stuff like that better. And then I had an opportunity to work with a digital asset cryptocurrency custody provider, a startup. And they basically asked me, hey, how do we get insurance for crypto? So that was back in 2017. I jumped ship from the corporate world into this whole of decentralization and Web3, and basically built the world's first billion-dollar insurance program for cryptocurrencies.
Wow.
So that was my first foray into this world, which I realized had such crazy opportunities to empower people. And so while I was doing that, I was looking at all the different ways that we could solve for empowering people with their data versus businesses exploiting people for their data. And I met Jason, my co-founder, back in 2019 through a mutual friend. And basically, his background was working with Twitter, Snapchat, and Spotify. And obviously, our worlds connected, and it's been sort of like history from there. Basically, that's where all your data is being generated on these social platforms now. So it was just a no-brainer for us to figure out a way that, how would we actually develop a social network if it was actually designed to empower people versus designed to manipulate and exploit them for their data and attention. So our mission really ultimately is, how do we empower people with social freedom, digital and virtual freedom, right? Ultimately, I think it's kind of like, you know, um, we want to have people be empowered to connect and to consume data and sorry, content and just be able to live a private life if they want to, right? So that's kind of the genesis of Gravvity. And what Gravvity has become is really, it will be the first ad-free social platform, similar to what Netflix did for cable and commercials and things like that. We are doing for your Instagram and TikTok feeds. If you can imagine having that experience be free of any advertising influence, that's kind of what we've built on our social side. Coupled with the fact that we've always had a view that immersive content and the metaverse was going to be a huge part of the social world. So prior to Meta or Facebook announcing Meta, we had already embarked on a journey of incorporating immersive content to allow creators to create content, immersive content for people to sort of consume. So yeah, we built this. We're building this really cool, ultra realistic metaverse that people will be able to create shops, offices, classrooms, different kinds of metaverse experiences in a matter of minutes. So making it super accessible and relatable for people to actually finally enter the metaverse. So sorry for the long intro, but that's kind of where our background is and what our company does.
It's all good, and thanks for that elaborative explanation. I did want to go back to the fact that you guys are gonna empower your customers, empower your users. You did mention some privacy there as well. Does that mean that, for example, Facebook is tracking us? Snapchat is tracking, TikTok is tracking. Instagram's tracking. Does that mean that Gravvity is not going to track our actions? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, exactly. We're basically taking the approach that we're not going to collect any data that is not basically given to the user to that can empower the user firsthand, right? Like it's not something that we're trying to push any ads into people's feeds, and that's really the reason why Facebook's and everyone is collecting that data is to understand what buttons to push with you, so they can keep you glued to your app longer, to their app longer, so they can push more ads to you, right? The whole game is maximizing your attention and maximizing the data so they can capture your attention even more. We don't have that agenda. Our agenda is simple: make it a very useful and powerful way where you're in control of the content that you see, and you're able to connect with the friends and family and colleagues and things like that in the way that you want to. So there's no hidden agendas for what we're doing. And any data that we do collect, that it's up to you how you want to basically share or not share that data set with businesses, with other people. Like it's all up to you. So it's a very different model. It's not based on how much time you spend on our app, but we do obviously hope that you find it useful. Then you'll visit the app or use the app every day.
So, Jerry, let's go back to the business thing a little bit later, to the business model. Let's get back to basics though. Instagram, you post your like pictures originally, right? Facebook is for boomers or whatever, but like you still like do your things, write statuses. Twitter, you write, tweets there. Everyone's trying to adopt new things like spaces and whatnot, reels, and TikTok's doing their thing for creators, for example, and Instagram tries to like replicate them. Same with YouTube. Basic question too is, what does Gravvity do? Like, what do you do on that? Like, you
Yeah.
download an app. Like, what's up there?
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack there, to be honest. So we're a full feature social app. So we have a social feed, of course, a stream that what I mentioned was the ad-free stream where you're getting unfiltered, unbiased sort of content without interruptions from ads. But really, we're a short form video, so similar to say TikTok in terms of the look of it, but far from TikTok in a sense that it's not really meant to be a platform that's just kind of all fluffy, if that makes sense. Like it's meant to actually empower people, right? So we're definitely going to have a slant towards positive content, positive, and what I mean by positive is in a sense of how does this content impact the consumer of that content. And creators, we call them contributors actually, because we think that the barrier for creation is probably a bit high even now for the social world. And I think that a lot of people in social networks have a lot to contribute, but wouldn't necessarily know how to craft something to be a creator. So we're making it possible for people to contribute across the community. And essentially what we do is we ultimately share our profits with the community. Basically, people earn our token, our Gravy token, for on a daily basis for their contributions to the community. So whether you're creating content, posting content, or upvoting contents, or just sort of supporting other fellow people in the community, adding community members, anything that goes towards helping to make the community stronger and more fuller, we definitely are rewarding our community members for that.
So
So yeah, what?
yeah, I'll pause you right here. There's a lot of to unpack. Okay, so first of all, Gravvity will have a creative aspect. So it's catered towards creators to create something similar of the short form videos. I'm assuming also accompanied by music and some special effects and filters and all of that.
No filters.
No filters. Is that like a policy? No filters?
It's more, we've always had this view that it's about being authentic, and
Uh-huh.
it's about being sort of, not trying to create, it's not, okay, here's the thing that's different about ultimately about what we're doing versus what, other apps are doing. It's nothing about status. It's not about selfies. It's not about that. It's about, how can you, what you have in your skill set, experience, just your presence, what can you do to contribute to make the community stronger and better? And that's the incentives that are that's going to be what's incentivized as content that's being created in our platform. So it's going to be all about, how are you able to help impact others? And that's quite a different way of looking at it. But we believe there's a market and a community that's dying to sort of like help each other be more successful and, be more empowered. That I think we were able to actually focus on.
You've mentioned basically incentives and how our users are being rewarded. You mentioned token system. How exactly is the contribution being measured? For example, how does Sally gets 2 tokens and Kelly
Mhm.
gets 5 tokens?
Yeah,
Like what's
once again, there's a lot to go through there, but I'll say there's a formula that's in place. And basically, depending on the level of contributions you have on a daily basis and throughout the lifetime of your participation and contributions to the community, it gets distributed on a weighted basis based on those two criteria. So different actions, of course, also have different weighting associated with it. So if you refer friends, if you upvote content, or if you produce content and get upvotes, all those things kind of have different scoring systems basically. And every day there's a pot that's basically divided by all the members in our community, and everybody shares. So it's kind of a it is a once again, it is a formula that's there, and it'll be transparent when we actually do share with everybody. But it's really meant to the long-term view is we really want people to share in the success of the community as it grows. And the goal is for people to hopefully hold on to these tokens, because we truly hope that we'll be able to grow its value, and not the value of the token, but just the value of the community, and in turn, hopefully, have them be able to be associated with that.
So help me to better understand this, maybe through like an example. Let's say Raj, he's a user of Gravvity, and he decides to create a content. He makes a short video where he basically tries to share some of his experiences, and maybe it's entertaining and valuable and informative, and people seem to like it. This content has been created and posted. What happens after that? Like, what's the work behind it that allows Raj to earn a certain amount of tokens? And can Raj's video go viral, like, or
Yeah, so
become
there's
popular?
yeah, there's steps that goes along with it. We obviously are very focused on making sure that quality content is being provided, and so there's a little bit of a work that needs to happen to qualify to first be have a chance of going, say, public or profile. But that's not a huge barrier. But it's just making sure that whatever content is being produced is from a credible, verified source, and things like that. But once it actually, obviously there's opportunity for them to share it privately within their circles, of course, or their inner group. And of course, anybody that's following them will also get that content pushed into their streams. But ultimately, it comes down to what category has that content been set up in, and if users, our members, wish to view content from those categories, of course, that content will be prioritized as it's being assessed and evaluated by all our members. So once again, the content is quite different in terms of how we measure success of a content. It's not necessarily how many likes you got or how many upvotes you received. It's actually based on, did you achieve what you wanted to do in terms of making somebody feel a certain way. So when someone upvotes a piece of content, they're saying it was positive and it made me feel inspired, right? And so the metrics that you're being weighted against is on looking at the community who's seen that content. Has it been mostly positive, and has it been inspirational, or has it been whatever? So it's quite different. We're making people sort of like be mindful of what they're posting, why they're posting, and of course, ultimately, why do they consume that content, and how did you feel after you consumed it, and knowing sort of like the metrics behind your viewing experience. Now, once again, that's very different and detailed, but it's something where we believe people want to have a better understanding of what they're experiencing to be able to help moderate and manage their experience better. And we hope that we can, do something very special when it's tied to your Apple Watch or tied to other things that will allow you to make sure that it's healthy for you.
That's actually, yeah, it's something really different. I never heard of something like that. So let's go back to this example. Let's say Raj makes someone feel really, really great. because it was very inspiring for them. They got motivated to do something. You know, like, oh wow, Raj does this. I want to do this too. Somehow, will Raj know that this is why he's getting his token for? Like, it's because he's motivating something, because his videos are
Yeah, he
motivating.
gets he gets all the metrics reported back to him in terms of how people have reacted to his or her content. And then once again, there's a formula, of course, that combines the how people felt and how active it was been viewed, right? So I think it ultimately comes down to the fact that you want to, I think the more that you hit on what your target of achieving in terms of what people feel, the more that it will be passed on and supported by the community. So yeah, every day it will go on forever how it's allocated. So if your content continuously, that one piece of content every day will get thrown into the mix to get its allocation based on the performance that it had.
And does Raj get the tokens continuously based on the performance of the videos, or is it just like a one-time transaction?
every day every day all the content is reallocated, like in terms based on the reactions and the way in which it's impacted people. So it's a pretty big formula for sure, to be able to do that, but that's just math. So it's all good. And we have a very strong AI component that really makes sure that there's not clutter and junk and stuff that's really important. And I think that's part of why people are frustrated with their experience, is that they seem to be seeing the same things over and over again
Yeah.
without much value, and then ads are mixed into it. So yeah, I think it's a pretty frustrating experience for most people right now.
In the words of Charlie Munger, and I paraphrase, if you can work on incentives, I wouldn't work on anything else but just that. And it feels like getting rewards for something that you do instantly, not just in the form of likes, but in the form of tokens that we can just further talk about it right now. But I'm assuming these tokens can have utilities, and they are meant to have utility. And so my question is for you is, what is the utility of the token, and what's the name of the token?
So the token is called Gravy. So you
Nice.
can earn a little bit of gravy while you're socializing. And basically, the gravy token will be used for a bunch of different things. The first off is that our metaverse experience is pretty unique, obviously, in terms of what we're trying to build there. And essentially, you'll be able to, for a business or a creator to create metaverse experiences, they'll need to actually buy Gravy to buy, virtual spaces, to be able to actually pay for hosting of their experience. And then as a consumer or as a user or member, you're going to basically use Gravy to buy items from these businesses and these creators. So it's the currency of our platform. So that in itself, there's a finite number of the tokens. It's not like any of the frequent flyer points or anything like that, where it just keeps going, gets getting
Interesting.
inflationary and stuff like that. We actually have a capped number of tokens. So in theory, you need, if our community continues to grow and our token is capped, obviously there's incentive to hold it and to hopefully gain value as our community grows, because there's a demand will only grow for more transactions that are happening on our platform. And once again, it's something where it allows people to contribute and be a part of the success of the company, and that's a big part of what we want to accomplish.
And are the items and real estate that you can buy, everything will be in Metaverse, or and
No,
if you
no.
could,
So there's going to be
yes,
digital and physical items that you can buy. So
interesting.
what's
So
unique is that we partnered with, like, we've already partnered with, local retailers. Actually, is really great brand was our first partner, was called Brims, and they're a local hat company, which is like, they're like urban legends. They're like out of Kensington Market in Toronto, and they produce these amazing custom hats all around the world. But they're a small boutique retailer who really doesn't have a path to growing much bigger. It's just kind of limited by all sorts of things. But through the metaverse, they're able to create an experience that allows people to really feel enriched by the quality of the work that or the product that they produce. So basically, if you go to the shop, you can basically buy not just a physical hat and get it shipped to you, but you actually get a digital twin of it as an NFT. That's all part of our sort of platform. So yeah, you'll be able to buy real world items and experiences in addition to digital ones.
That's so cool. I just imagine just earning some talk and some gravy with my podcast videos or something like that. And
Absolutely.
based on the emotions that it inspired, I can go ahead and get myself a cup of coffee, just paying with it with my gravy.
Yeah, I mean, wait till you see what we have planned. We have lots on the go. Obviously, like we have big aspirations for a small startup, but it's I think it's all anchored by the fact that we have a very different model, which is just not to exploit, it's just to empower. So the whole point is just to create win-wins everywhere versus it being consolidate as much power and money that a central entity can actually do. So it's a very different thing. So we design things very differently because it's just about what's best for the community. It's not about what's squeezing the most out of the community. It's actually finding a different path, which is what allows us to innovate the way that we do.
Do ads have any place on Gravity at all? Are there any businesses that say, let's say, like a local coffee shop or Nike or anyone, like we want to advertise on Gravity, but how do we do this? Can you allow for that, or there's no ads
There's
whatsoever?
the only way that you can advertise on Gravity is if you partner with a creator. So basically, it has to be sponsored content that shows up, and basically the member has to obviously subscribe or follow a content creator or a contributor that the business is already partnered with. So we built a whole platform that matches creators and businesses to be able to say, hey, here's an easy way, here's standard pricing for you to reach people that maybe meet for your target customer, but none of it is forced down a customer's throat. So there's no push advertising at all. The creator has to organically want to do that to be able to be sponsored by a particular brand or a company. And then there might be some opportunities where it's not so much advertising, but it's more like promotions where we offer, exclusive drops from different brands and things where they basically say, hey, we promote us on a separate area here where they're claiming their tokens every day. Hey, can we have something where we want to give everybody who signs up, a discount on something or whatever it may be, something of value. I can see that being something that's tangible as well and beneficial to the community without interrupting their social experience. So the whole point is none of the content you see in your stream should be affected at all by any advertising influence. And if you start to sniff that your creators that you're following are being influenced by these brands, then I guess you would probably stop following them.
Right, and those creators are no longer incentivized, or they're no longer receiving those tokens and incentives because you decided not to support their content
Exactly.
with your, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the whole way that we built it. So it's like a
How
self-managed.
does Right, how does the platform looks right now in terms of the whole product? Is it fully finished, or it's still in the process
Yeah,
of
we're
develop?
we're we're super close. So like we'll be launching our social app probably next month, maybe 2 months from now. But it's
Very, very timely then, this podcast.
yeah. So we'll have the community. We'll have it in our hands of our community. So if you go to gravvity.ai, and that's two V's, you'll be able to sign up and get on the wait list for the early release. And we look forward to obviously seeing what the community gives us in terms of feedback and any outstanding bugs that we didn't pick up or things like that. And then we're looking for a global launch, hopefully by the end of the year. And that would be both on Apple and Android. We have 35,000 people on our app waitlist right now, from 25 different countries, has broad appeal. And we're just super excited to finally really unleash it, because I think, it's something that I think the world might need. So,
I've noticed that you guys crowdfunded on Front Funder. Is that true?
yes.
You've raised over $800,000, which is impressive. Is the fact that you did your funding through, I would say, like through crowdfunding, basically. Front Founder is a cool platform that I recently learned about, and it's very impressive what they're doing. But can you tell me more about that experience? What led to this decision? Was there ever a debate? Let's go to VCs rather than crowds. Or like we
No.
want to. What was the like decision behind there?
No, okay. So it was 100% from the very beginning. We wanted to have our community take part and be a part of the ownership story. That was 100% one of our visions for the company when we launched, actually. We had thought of a bunch of different ways to do that, but definitely we landed on crowdfunding being a very simple way that will allow us to raise enough capital for us to get to market.
That was impressive. 800K? What?
Yeah, I think
Damn.
we were one of the top, if not the top.
Yeah.
So that's ever happened there. But that just shows the strength of our community and support that we get from our community. They're the best. I know every company says that, but we definitely feel like a community. We definitely feel like a collective. Everybody's been always super supportive. We get them involved in our decisions actually. So like we have a Discord channel that allows people where we give basically daily challenges where we have questions around things, or we want to do research or surveys on stuff, or we have a design consideration. We get their inputs, we take into consideration. We've had some great feedback. So we try to engage, and once again, it's it doesn't, we're not looking to be, billions and billions of users. We're just trying to find a sustainable product that fits what people that are looking for this needs. And so we have a very modest approach to things, and we don't need VCs hyping it up more than it actually is, and vice versa. Like we just try to keep it very even keel in terms of everything that we're doing, bootstrap as far as we can get to, and then that will create the most value for our community who invested in us early. Is we just keep going as long as we can without really jumping in on the VC side.
That's very cool. Jerry, I wanted to ask you about, like, on the personal level, how was it to switch from a corporate job to something like, I'm gonna do something on my own? Like, for me, it sounds pretty scary to just say, like, hey, like, I'm gonna like drop my job and I'm just gonna do that, because like the first thought that comes to my mind is like where I'm gonna get the money, how I'm gonna support myself while working on this and that. Can
Yeah.
you talk to me about this transition? What went through your head, and yeah, what would you do maybe differently, or like suggestion for anyone who wants to be like you?
Yeah, I mean, for my situation, by far, it was like the best decision I ever made. I was on track to do some big things corporately for sure, but I already done a lot in terms of achieving the goals that I wanted to achieve and acquiring skills. And I had the fortune of working with so many great companies and great people, but having your own project or whatever it may be, your business, it's fundamentally different because it tests you, every moment in terms of the problems you need to solve, right? I think a lot of people think of when a startup, they think of, well, what's the innovation they've created? Well, I can tell you, we probably created millions of innovations over 3 years, like, or at least tens of thousands of innovations where you're always trying to iterate and come up with solutions to problems. So to me, that's what I enjoy, is solving problems. And I think that part of it, without any constraints on how corporately it should be structured, or worrying about political or other things like that that are kind of more distractions than anything else. Having that freedom was super empowering to me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, financially, it's scary, for sure, because even as much of a nest egg as I thought I had, after 3 years, trust me, you're feeling it, right? It's definitely a big bet that we've made. But I can tell you what, I've never have I thought this feels like work. So, like every day that I wake up, I'm excited to solve the next problem, and I'm excited that next conversation, waiting for that, one ball to bounce the right way for us to really take off. It's an exciting time that you can't have in a corporate setting. It doesn't come. I don't, at least not from my experience. It didn't come that way. So yeah, we have total flexibility, freedom, and we're able to be as creative as we need to be. And to me, that's worth more than any dollars amounts that people can pay me right now. So,
Wow, I would give you some inspiration tokens right now for that speech, to be honest.
oh, jeez.
No, I'm
So,
serious. I'm serious. It's motivating. Question about, what you thought originally you would build. Have you ever thought of like what you have right now in plans? Um, was that your original idea, or the whole product like went through several iterations? Like I don't remember, like I didn't see like any metaverse mentioning like a couple of years ago on Gravvity, but all of a sudden now it's a metaverse uh, adjunct or like association there. Um,
yeah,
can you tell me about those decisions?
so we've always had the metaverse in mind because we always saw 3D immersive content as being part of it, but we were stealth on that side of the business just because
I see.
it was just something we were going to surprise people with. But then when And
Metal dropped.
we already spoken on the metaverse on a number of events prior to Facebook announcing. And as soon as Facebook announcing, everyone just started asking us about it. And we're like, oh yeah, well here's actually our
You guys were
strategy.
spot on. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it kind of took a life of its own. But when you ask me, like, how have we pivoted and stuff like that? Absolutely. Like, I mean, our first product we actually built and we actually scrapped. So in many ways, we've already failed once, maybe twice. Like we had a product built which was consolidating all the different feeds from all different social apps. It was built, it was working. But then as we launched it, we started to realize, wow, the difficulty in maintaining those channels of integration were going to be extremely difficult, time consuming. And if they made some significant changes, it could be overwhelming. So it was a hard lesson for us to learn or pill for us to swallow, more or less, but we swallowed it, moved on. And luckily, we ended up with some really cool partnership with Centennial College here in Toronto, where we were able to get some great, almost like $1 million in grants actually and subsidies through them.
Wow.
And that sustained us to the point where we can build it. They really believed in what we were trying to do and they wanted to help us build it. So luckily, unfortunately for us, we were able to find such great partners to be able to execute that. And here we are. So yeah, for sure. As much as you think you have a plan of what you want to do, I think that life comes at you in different ways and things happen. And I think what's cool though is that we never thought about what we were building as importantly as why we were building something. And so the why of our existence has always been the same, and that's to empower people. It's just the job for Jason and I is to find the best way to do that, and that's why our product continues to evolve every day.
That sounds amazing, and I think that's a great. You creating great value right now for everyone who's listening and understanding that your original idea might not always be what you're gonna end up with, but along the way you will, pivot so many times, and if you figure this out, if you're flexible enough, then you'll achieve great heights. Uh,
Well, yeah,
yeah,
I would add one thing. It's probably more important to build a community than it is to build a product, because the community will be there for you when your product fails. Because as long as they believe in your mission, what you're trying to achieve, they're going to support you and find ways to support you to get you through some tough times. And we've had tough times, man. So it's our strength of our community that's held us together and allowed us to be able to actually continue. We've had people support us in buying our digital assets and believing in our vision. And without them, who knows where we would be. So we'd have to be in the VC side of things, and that's not ideal for us at this moment. Not saying it won't be, but at this moment, we wanted it to be very organic and community based, and we managed to keep it that way because of the strength of our community.
and I think this is it's a very smart approach. Jerry, thanks so much for being on this podcast. How can people reach out to you or learn more about Gravvity?
Yeah, I mean, go to gravvity.ai, our website, sign up. I check out everybody who signs up. And, definitely if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, and send us some information, and we'll be happy to connect with you guys.
Thank you so much. Jerry Chien, everybody, the CEO and co-founder of Gravvity.
Thanks, Amir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Pleasure was all mine.